Hey girl, hey! Welcome to With a Gay Twist. We are a bi-weekly podcast hosted by two homosexuals who talk about news and politics, but with a gay twist. I'm Zach, and it was grand just to stand with his hand holding mine till the end of the line.
And I'm Mason, and I know that I am very fortunate to have a lady friend who just happens to have an Adam's apple.
Long live Tu Wong Fu.
Thank you, Julie Newmar, for everything.
For everything. On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about, apparently, the GOP's new mafia don. And a little bit later, we'll be learning about our queer person in history. Mason, who will you be telling us about today?
I will be talking about someone from today, actually.
Ooh.
The wonderful Ash Hardell. So stay tuned for that.
Oh, I cannot wait. And before we really dive into things, all tea, no shade. I'm just going to put it out there. If I sound a little different, I am a little under the weather today. But dear listeners, for you, the show must go on. So we'll be editing out a lot of coughs and nose blows so that you do not have to partake in those.
And we'll just fill those in with the fabulous Freddie Mercury singing The Show Must Go On.
Love that. Or I really do love the version from Moulin Rouge.
Oh, well, I mean, I will totally be Christina Aguilera from the music video.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes. I'll be Pink.
Yeah. Okay.
Love Pink.
We'll find us a Lil' Kim and a Brandy.
No.
Or Maya. Sorry, Maya.
Ooh, girl. Ooh.
I almost had an
Dear
issue
listeners, you can direct that feedback to @RealMasonDixon on Twitter. So Mason, how you doing? What's been going on?
there. Doing fabulous. It's been a really good week. I actually went and did something that you'll be proud of me for this week that I normally don't do.
Oh my god, give it to me. What you got?
I went to the movies. I actually went and saw something in theaters. And for our listeners who don't know, I hate movie theaters. I hate the movie theater experience. I hate other people.
Whereas on this side of the microphone, my husband and I go to the movies almost every weekend. I mean, minimum once a month, but usually 2-3 times a month. But we have definitely gone 4 or 5 times a month as well. Thank you, AMC Stubbs A-List. #NotSpots.
Yeah, and so Regal also has a frequent flyer, I'll call it, frequent flyer,
a subscription
ticket
service.
Yeah, where you pay. Again, not sponsored. Saw it in the theater because I went to Regal. That's what we have close to us. That's kind of like the bougie in my area, and they advertised it was like, I don't know, $17-$18 per person a month, and you go and you get to see unlimited movies.
Yep, that's how the AMC Stubbs A-List works as well.
Yeah.
What'd you see, Mama?
Yes. I saw Fantastic Beast.
So, I also recently saw Fantastic Beasts. We're specifically referring to the third movie in the franchise,
The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Now, I'm going to say this first off. I struggled with whether or not to go see this movie. As a Potterhead, I felt such a strong desire to see it. As a gay man, I felt a strong desire because I was really hoping we were going to explore the relationship between Grindelwald and Dumbledore and hopefully get some confirmation of their gay asses. Because in the second film, we just got some subtle hints. We were closer than brothers. The interlocking fingers together inside the mirror of Erised. But nothing really like concrete. Nothing rock hard. And Mama, I wanted some rock hard.
Especially with Jude Law.
Ooh, yes, please. So, as a gay man, I wanted to see that, but thinking about our trans brothers and sisters and siblings, and knowing how problematic J.K. Rowling is, I really struggled. So, I did go see it, but when I came home, I donated the amount of the cost of a ticket to the Transgender Legal Fund.
That's an awesome idea.
To try to assuage my own guilt.
Yes, because going isn't just supporting J.K. Rowling. There's a lot of jobs. I mean, if you sit there and watch all the credits, like I did, because... And I was really upset because I did sit through the entire credit. Because there's normally something at the end. There wasn't anything at the end of this one. I was very angry about it. But, you're supporting all those people.
Thousands of people.
Thousands of people. And then you're also supporting, this is kind of a lesser note, but you're supporting that storyline and wanting that storyline to come to a finish. So before we go any further, I do want to say, if you do not want spoilers, please skip ahead to our next section.
Look down into the show notes, find the next section, and skip to that right now. All right, let's spill the tea, sis.
Let's go. So, keep going with what you were saying. So you wanted to see...
I wanted some gay confirmation. And we got it.
We got it within the first 5 minutes of the film.
In the first 5 minutes, we get some confirmation, and then 3/4 of the way through the film, we get, I think, even more explicit confirmation.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a really, really well written scene in the opening scene where Grindelwald and Dumbledore are sitting down in a restaurant, and they're just talking, and yeah. Dumbledore says, yeah, I was sort of going along with all of this stuff of wanting to take over the world several years ago because I was in love with you. Which I thought was interesting, because here's what I've always wondered. Well, we've always known that he was gay and that he was in love with Grindelwald, but we never knew where Grindelwald stood. We never knew if was he also gay and they were sort of in a relationship together because Grindelwald loved him. Was Grindelwald because he's a psychopath? Did he know Dumbledore loved him and so he just sort of played along so that he could get Dumbledore on his side? And he basically, like that scene in Scary Movie when it's revealed at the end that it's the boyfriend who's the killer, and it's with one of the Wayans brothers, and then Wayans brothers, you think he's been gay the whole time, and then at the end he's like, no, I'm not gay. And he's like, but we went on that shopping trip. He was like, I wanted to go shopping. He was like, but you made love to me. And he's like, no, you sucked my dick.
Yep.
So, was it that whole thing? We don't know. But then at the end of the movie, he specifically uses the phrase, the summer that Gellert and I fell in love.
But, so, I'm still not convinced that Gellert has as much, or had as much feeling towards Dumbledore as Dumbledore has towards Gellert.
I agree.
150,000%. I still think that there is the option of it was a summer fling and Dumbledore took it to the extreme and kind of carried it with him. I mean, during that summer, the other added thing about this is that they had a blood magic pact which bound them together, and there's some implications that can be made with that as far as in the heat of the moment that was made, and because that was intact for so long, could that have kind of forced the issue or forced those feelings to remain in place? And now that it's, again, spoiler alert, people, now that's broken, as we see at the end of the film. Even Grindelwald said, who's going to love you now, Dumbledore, now that you're alone?
Interesting. Very interesting point. Yeah, I agree. I still don't know if Grindelwald truly does love him, or that he wasn't just playing him for a fool so that he could have Dumbledore by his side for his power. Hopefully, I don't know. I would love to get an actual explanation for that, but we don't know the future of these films. The first 3 films have not done very well at the box office. They've made a lot of money, but not as much money as they should be making compared to the other Harry Potter films. These should be solid blockbusters, and they're just not, because they have not been well received.
But I think that comparing these films to the first Harry Potter films, so those, what was it, 8 films, right? 8 films, because there's 7 books. Number 7 is very important in the series. So the 8 films, what I hope is taken into consideration at the high levels of decision making is that you had physical storylines within Harry Potter, physical books that people had been reading for years prior to release of the very first movie. So we had the first movie came out, and the first 2, if not 3 books were already published before Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone came out in theaters, right? So you had years of just fan base growing, right? And then with the films, when they came out, they had something to go off on. Whereas the Fantastic Beast franchise, the Fantastic Beast book is literally a compendium of magical creatures, and that's it. There is no overarching, right? There's no narrative. There's nothing in there. So everything that has come about is literally coming right out of J.K. Rowling's head for the screen, and we haven't had time as the fan base to develop those feelings, those attachments. Now, there could be a lot to be said for, Potterhead. I think it's Potterhead.com. No, that's not right. Pottermore. Thank you. Pottermore and all the companion type materials that were published there. And you did get to go kind of back and forth, and you got to interact with the America's version of Hogwarts, which is Ilvermorning. So a little bit, but still not as much as engaging with a full-blown series of novels.
So it's hard to build up a fan base based on really just name alone, just knowing this is the Wizarding World. But still, the Wizarding World is one of the most successful franchises in cinema history. And for Warner Brothers, the box office receipts have not been what they want it to be. So while there were 5 films outlined by J.K. Rowling, they've only done 3, and they have not yet greenlit 4 and 5. And Warner Brothers said they were going to see how number 3 did before they moved forward with 4 and 5. And in fact, my opinion is they actually ended 3 sort of looking like an ending. Like, it felt very like, and that's the end of this, the way it was, the sort of final shot is, the way the music sort of ends. It feels very like, okay, we can now close that chapter. I think they probably did that just in case. Like, they didn't leave it with a cliffhanger in the same way that film number 2 ended with a cliffhanger.
I would disagree, because they haven't wrapped up the Grindelwald storyline. They left that in very much a cliffhanger position because of what is said from oh gosh, I can't remember what Newt's brother's first name is, but Newt's brother,
Theseus,
thank you, says to Dumbledore there on top of that mountain, says something along the lines of, now you can move against Gellert. It's left open of, and I think someone asked him the question of, now I hope that you're going to move against him, and he says basically yes. Like, it is now kind of like written in the stars almost, in a way that they have to go head to head at some point. And the fact to leave that open like that, they did close off some of the other storylines. They wrapped some of those up a little bit. We still have a little bit to go with the storyline of Credence. We know who Credence's father is now. We finally we have just a little bit more to get there. We have no idea where Nagini is, by the way. She's only in the second film. I get the Credence storyline merged.
And honestly, the Credence storyline is probably ending exactly where it is, even if they make a 4 and 5, because Ezra Miller, he's going through some troubled times right now.
I really wish that people would get their shit together when they know that they're in a goddamn franchise.
I mean, I wish all people would get their shit together no matter what, but yeah. Especially if you're in a film franchise, yes.
If you know that there's going to be multiple films, can you just suck it up, Buttercup, and fucking live your life clean and narrow for however long you need to be in that franchise? Like, you should know. You sign on for the role of Credence. You know this is a multi-film franchise. This is not a one and done. Just manage your shit. You're getting paid a shit ton of money. Manage your goddamn shit. Ain't that hard.
Yeah, I think
hire a handler.
He's got some demons. And, or actually, I think they use they, them pronouns, if I'm not mistaken. They've got some demons. And I hope they get their shit together, because I don't know what's going to happen with the Flash movie. I mean, there's lots of implications with Ezra Miller's career now, so who knows?
Yes.
But speaking of films,
yes,
that is actually a great segue into our next segment. So it's time to put on your heels, roll up them fishnets, and let's work the queer corner. Yes, it's the segment where we discuss the intersectionality between news and queerness. And Mason, have you heard of what's happening with Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness?
I actually have. So, with Doctor Strange, there is going to be the introduction of a queer character into the franchise. I mean, a overtly queer character. And Zach, who is that queer character?
Her name is America Chavez, also known as Miss America.
Yes. And so she's going to be a queer character in there. And so now, because of the introduction of America Chavez, the film is now banned in Saudi Arabia.
Shocker.
Shocker. And this happens in the Middle East quite often. And by quite often, I mean within the recent years of Hollywood finally recognizing diversity in sexual orientations and having queer characters and queer community members within their films. So a lot of films that have any sort of implication, suggestion of queerness, queer characters, queer storylines, typically don't make it through the censorship red tape that it takes to be distributed out in a lot of Middle Eastern countries. So, shocker, it's going to be banned in Saudi Arabia. There are rumors that is also going to be banned in Kuwait. One thing that I was surprised about is that advance tickets are still on sale in the United Emirates. So it looks like it's going to be released in the United Emirates. Now we'll see if they're going to come back and do any sort of edits from the production side. I doubt that, because if they're going to make edits for one country, they would probably make edits enough to have it released in all of the Middle Eastern countries.
I also wonder if edits would even be possible, considering she's got such an integral part. Her America Chavez's role is an integral part to the plot, so I think it would be very difficult to edit all of that out. But also the UAE over the last few years has sort of calmed their tits a bit when it's come to homosexuality in media. It's been sort of the one country in the Middle East that's sort of chilled a little bit, as opposed to Saudi Arabia, where, let's just be clear, homosexuality is still outlawed. It is illegal.
It is illegal. It's still illegal in Kuwait as well. Mm-hmm. And in the majority of Middle Eastern countries, it is still illegal. There is a huge social push for changes within their legal structure to decriminalize sodomy acts and to decriminalize just existing as a queer person. But At this moment, it doesn't look like Doctor Strange is going to have a lot of headway there in the Middle East.
Well, best of luck to it. I cannot wait to see that movie. We bought our tickets a month in advance. I'm ready for it, mama.
I am also ready to see that film. I do not know if I will go to theater to see this. I might go for an IMAX experience for this.
It's going to be good on IMAX.
It will be good on IMAX. Again, like the Avengers, a lot of the superhero movies are pretty good in IMAX, but I won't go and see like films along the lines of West Side Story or I don't know, pick anything that isn't superhero or kind of like space related. I feel like those films really lend themselves to that IMAX experience.
And you know what, Mason? I cannot wait to talk more about that. But first, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Hey, girl.
Hey, girl. Hey.
Mason, did you know that we have a Patreon page?
No, girl. Tell me about it, sis.
Well, you can support a couple of struggling homosexuals making a podcast through the use of Patreon.
Oh, so you want them coins?
Yas, mama.
Well, what do them coins get me?
You'll get early access to episodes, bonus materials, monthly AMAs with us, and more.
Fabulous. Where can I get all the tea, hunty?
Just pop your pussy over to patreon.com/withagaytwist. That's patreon.com/withagaytwist.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited. Like my ass.
Bye, girl.
Later. Let's bring it home for a minute while we're here on the corner.
Oh, yes.
And talk about some things that are happening in the South. Yet again.
Not good.
Not good. So for anyone following, we have had a couple of stories come up within the recent, I'd probably say 2 weeks, where there have been physical acts of violence towards gay men in the news. So one of the most recent ones is that 4 teens have been charged and arrested in Georgia involving the assault and harassment of a 15-year-old boy, one of their classmates. And what's interesting about this happened at Loganville High School in East Atlanta, Georgia, which is already point number one of intrigue here. Atlanta is a very progressive city in the South. It has been known to be a very liberal area, a very welcoming area for the queer community. Do not compare it to a state like New York or compare it to somewhere out west like Colorado, Washington, Oregon, or California, okay? Just make sure you're comparing apples to apples here. But Loganville Police Department confirmed that following reports that a 15-year-old boy was shut in a bathroom closet and sprayed with cleaning products by 4 classmates, that 4 individuals have been arrested.
Jesus.
Yep. The 15-year-old was victim. And this was over alleged homophobic comments. So while this act was being committed against this 15-year-old boy, there were homophobic slurs and comments being yelled at them.
So obviously, like, a homophobic, like, induced crime was committed.
Correct. So we'll see if a hate crime designation gets applied here. What is interesting is that 1 out of the 4 is actually being charged as an adult, and it's a 17-year-old female who is facing 1 felony of false imprisonment. Not assault, not battery, just false imprisonment, because the 15-year-old was locked in or confined to a closet for a prolonged period of time. There is a 16-year-old male that is facing 2 counts of false imprisonment, 1 misdemeanor for battery, and 1 misdemeanor for reckless conduct. Are you fucking kidding me? A 14-year-old student is being charged with 2 misdemeanors, 1 count of false imprisonment, and 1 count of reckless conduct as a party to the crime. And the 4th person that was arrested and is being charged is a 14-year-old female student who's facing 2 counts of false imprisonment as a party to the crime and 1 count of reckless conduct as a party of the crime. Both of those charges are misdemeanors.
And are they pleading guilty to those charges?
That is unclear at this moment.
My gut is telling me that they are pleading guilty and that these were plea deals.
I don't think so. I think that these are first count, or I think that these are just the charges. These are not anything that has been brought through plea, because at this moment, Kelsey Juliana Hayes, who is the 17-year-old, who is the only perpetrator that has been identified because they are being charged as an adult. After booking, she was released on bond. So we'll see what comes of this. I don't know how much information we're going to get about the other 3 because they are being charged as minors, and the court pretty much closes its doors when it comes to minors. But at least it has a little bit of look into the process through this 17-year-old case, because they are being charged as an adult.
Good Lord. It's a wild world out there.
It gets worse. It gets even more wild. Okay, so we have this case in Georgia. Almost simultaneously happening this month was a case here in Florida where a family broke into a gay man's home, beat him so severely that they left him blind. All because this family has 2 sons. One of the sons is gay, and they believe that this man that they beat and left blind was the reason why the son was gay, because this man started a relationship with him.
Because that's totally how it works, right?
Because that's how it works. I mean, I know that when I was growing up, that I was taught so much about heterosexuality and about heterosexual relationships that I came out to be the butchest, the straightest man that's ever lived.
So butch. Mason, when I think about you, I think butchy butchness.
Yes, I am so butch. I look like Fortune Feimster.
So butch. So butch.
It's not how it works, people. So, again, so this family is actually being charged with hate crimes. So there's a positive. Silver lining, people. Silver lining. They are being charged with a hate crime. So this arrest recently happened. The actual crime happened last summer. And it's in Broward County. And it's
all the crazy shit happens in Broward County. Good Lord have mercy.
I would love to say that you're right, but it's just all fucking over the state.
It's all of Florida.
It really is.
Hashtag a Florida man. ...
Israel. So it's the assault, both physical and just in the legal sector on the queer community, is absolutely insane. I mean, we also have Ethan Schmidt, who is the co-founder or the reported founder of the Anti-Maskers Club, that is going around saying in Nevada that we're hunting you gay people.
Great.
I mean, he's been so outrageous that he has actually been banned from the Arizona State Capitol back in January because of his hate and just his harassment of those that were supporting the masking mandates.
He's definitely got all of his shit together. He's got his priorities sorted.
It's insane. So the Anti-Maskers Club have state affiliate chapters. And just for instance, the San Diego chapter, which isn't a state chapter, this is just a city, like a metropolitan area chapter, has 3,454 followers on Twitter. The LA has 1,027 followers. And this guy's national. And he's actively calling for people to go out, and has a video up on Twitter of him walking into a restaurant and saying, have any groomers come in today? Have you seen any groomers in here? Talking about any gay people. And he says that all gay people are grooming children, and that you gay groomers and pedophiles, we're coming after you. We're hunting you down.
Yeah, he needs to go federal and go to a federal penitentiary.
Unfortunately, I think he'd be a hero if he did. That whole martyrdom. So that's news from the Queer Corner. But hey, Zach, what's new, honey? What's the tea? That's right. This is the segment where we talk about the news that caught our eye this week. So, Zach, tell me, what's the tea?
Oh, Mason, I'm afraid that we're going to have to talk about the political party previously known as the GOP, but I don't know, are they now the POT, the party of Trump? Because that's what it looks like they've become.
Gosh, I really don't know. I have been thinking about this probably more than I should, to be honest. I think that anytime that we devote to thinking about what has become of the Republican Party is kind of a exercise in futility. But I think that there is a clear divide within the Republican Party of those that hold true to the idea of what the Republican Party used to be, and the bigotry, the racism, and just the tomfoolery that Trump has ignited and brought to the forefront.
The level of unprofessionalism, far too much.
And has now become what we see in the news as the majority of the Republican Party.
Yeah, I mean, it seems pretty clear that Trump is the de facto leader of the Republican Party, and that if you want to make it in Republican politics today, you need his endorsement, because his endorsement of your opponent is not great for you.
Which is interesting, though, because talking about in our previous segment about Ethan Schmidt, he used to be a strong advocate for Trump. But when Trump turned around and got vaccinated and started talking about vaccines and being pro-vaccine, even though he said that it should still be your choice and was anti-vaccine mandates, as soon as Trump flipped the script, Ethan and his ilk have gone on and said, we no longer endorse Trump. He is just as bad as the Democrats and the liberals. So there, even within what used to be his camp, there are starting to be those fissures, because they're seeing that Trump really doesn't stick to one topic, or not really one topic, one side. He flip-flops.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you could probably find like the most radical 1% of a group of radicals, because that's what I would say that the party of Trump has become, is a group of radicals, and there will always be some subsection that says, let's just go further, let's go further, let's go further.
That's true, and I would love to sit here and say, well, but you can see that on the other side of the aisle. Bitch, where? Like,
I mean, radical for a conservative is let's hang Mike Pence, and
let's hunt gay people.
Yeah, and let's the United States.
Let's say that they deserve to die.
Yeah, and let's make the United States a Christian fundamentalist Handmaid's Tale type Gilead. Radical for a liberal is like, let's give people health care, and let's take care of the planet.
And so let's recognize systemic racism and look at fixing those systems that are broken. And let's look at fixing and repairing our criminal justice system and
Yeah.
our penal system.
Exactly. So the parties are very different, and anyone who says, "Oh, the parties are exactly the same," it doesn't matter, red, blue, doesn't matter, they're all the same. No, they're not the same. They're quite different. And one really great example of that is what happened recently, where the Republican National Committee, or the RNC, they withdrew from presidential debates. This just happened this week, where the RNC voted unanimously to say we're going to leave the Commission on Presidential Debates, which was started back in the 80s to give Democrats and Republicans a nonpartisan organization to put on the debates for president every 4 years. And the RNC, the Republicans, they have not been a fan of the debates for the last several cycles because their candidates are not great. And now they've just fully withdrawn. That's it.
I challenge that 1,000%. They didn't have a problem with the fucking debates until Trump came in. And they didn't even have a problem with the debates until this most recent election, or most recent campaign season that he went through, because the debate committee modified some of the rules because he wasn't following the fucking rules to begin with.
That's true. That's true.
He was the catalyst for any of the rule changes that happened for the 2020 campaign season. Okay? They modified how debates were going to be held. They modified certain parameters also because of COVID. And this is part of one of the other big lies when it comes to COVID. The big lie is that the election was stolen. The other big lie is that COVID wasn't a pandemic, that it was manufactured and politicized and all this other crap, right? So they made changes and required certain measures, and they had problems with that because Trump said that he had problems with that and that wasn't fair, this, that, and the other. They had a problem that the moderator told Trump to shut up.
As he needed to be told.
As he needed to be told, because he went over his fucking time.
Many times. Or the answers that he was giving were literally not on point with the question that he was asked. Interrupting all the time.
Interrupting.
It was a bombastic performance.
It wasn't the Trump show and people got pissed off at it. And so now they're like, you're not going to let us run the show how we want to so that it is biased towards us? We're going to go cry in the corner and we're not going to come play with you in the sandbox anymore.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
That's exactly what they've done. I mean, their official response was that, they feel that they need a better debate platform that ensures that future nominees are not forced to go through a biased commission. It's ridiculous. So we'll see. Will there even be debates in 2024? Who knows? Because if Trump is the candidate in 2024, will he even agree to be in a debate, even if it's not put on by the CPD? If it's put on by someone else, will Trump even go for another debate with Biden? Who knows? I mean, Trump
if
doesn't
it's ran
like
by
the
his
debates.
friend, yeah.
Sure, but then I don't think Biden would agree to that. But Trump does not like the debates. He doesn't do very well at them, and he tried to get out of them before. And let us not forget that his bombastic performance at the debates was one of the things that hurt him, because people got to see sort of him up there ranting and raving and acting like a lunatic, and then not even agreeing to tell the Proud Boys to disavow the Proud Boys.
Yeah.
So it's insane over there. But this is what the GOP or the TOP, this is, or the POT, this is what they're trying to become. They're trying to become this party where they're going to be supporting this Erdogan, Putin, Xi Kim Jong-un wannabe authoritarian.
I mean, he came out this past week and said, I'd rather be a dictator than a dumb person. So, I mean,
Yeah.
he is outright saying that he is gunning to be a dictator.
Yeah, he's a wild person. And meanwhile, Republicans are not standing up to him. And in fact, he's become this mob boss
Untouchable.
in a way. Yeah, he's this Vito Corleone sitting in Mar-a-Lago having all of these candidates for Congress, governorships, the Senate, flying down to Mar-a-Lago to come kiss the ring and try to get a few precious moments with him and maybe get a photograph with him so they can then run that in their campaigns to show how pro-Trump they are. I mean, Mar-a-Lago has become the headquarters of this new political party. And you would not believe the shenanigans and tomfoolery happening down there. I mean, you've had for 15 months as the New York Times called it, a parade of supplicants making their mecca down there to go kiss his ring and try to get an endorsement for 15 months. And Trump is down there sitting on a pile of cash, a war chest twice the size of the RNC's. Huge.
And yet he still can't pay his fucking bills.
Well, no, because he refuses to pay his bills. He doesn't want to pay his bills. He wants to keep that money for himself. It's definitely not going to go towards any sort of political campaign, his or anyone else's. That's why he's getting in more and more trouble with the Trump organization, and more of his cronies are getting in trouble for financial dealings that don't make sense because the money that he's collecting is not going towards the causes that he is advertising that they're going towards.
It's fucking ridiculous.
So, yeah, so the modern day Republican Party is becoming the party of Trump, and without a legitimate opposition party, it's very difficult for the Democrats to even get anything done. And we've got midterms coming up in a few months, and it does not look good for Republicans. Republicans are it is not looking good for Democrats. Democrats are idealists, and they don't quite have the same skill at inspiring people to get out and vote that Republicans have. Because Republicans will scare you to the polls. They will scare you to go and vote by telling you that people are coming after you, they're coming after your children, whether that's
Coming after your guns.
That people are coming after your guns. It's some caravan. You remember the caravan that was coming? Oh, as soon as the election was over, you didn't hear a word about the caravan anymore. So
No, but they did get bused to D.C. and then they're getting bused to Miami.
Yes, of course. So yeah, it's either the illegal Mexicans are coming for you, it's the trans people coming for you, the gay people are coming for your children, the Democrats are coming for your guns, the black people are going to rise up and they're going to take white people into slavery. I mean, they're just going to scare the shit out of you so that you'll go to the polls and vote for them. And it's hard for Democrats to stand on the same stage and go, yeah, hi, we want more in electric cars to help the planet. Yeah, that's not inspiring people to go to the polls. So for now, we're going to have to deal with what's probably going to be a really terrible midterm election season in 2022. And God knows what'll happen if Republicans take control of both houses of Congress.
Oh, I mean, I know what will happen. If they get enough control in Congress by Joe Biden, by Kamala Harris, within the first 3 months, I guarantee you, they will push through. Not only will they impeach Joe Biden, but they will remove him from office. And then they will turn around, because just because Joe Biden is removed from office, that doesn't mean that Kamala Harris is then removed. She actually
Correct.
gets seated. So the only thing that might save it is that they would not want a black female president, even if it was for a week, because they will then turn around and impeach her if she gets on the throne. I mean, boom. We will end up being a totalitarian country in the matter of months. Because not only would they have control over the legislative branch, but they still have control over the judicial branch.
Yeah. It's very sad and it's very scary. And so now that I'm feeling very troubled and I need a little pick-me-up, Mason. So I think we should move on to my favorite segment.
It's my favorite segment too.
That's right. It's I Don't Know Her, the segment where we highlight a queer person in history you should know. Mason, who are you going to tell us about today?
I'm going to tell us about the amazing Ash Hardell.
Ash Hardell? I don't know her.
Well, you should definitely know them.
All right. I don't know them. Tell me all about them.
So, Ash Hardell is a YouTube celebrity. And they started posting on YouTube back in 2011. And they are 30 years old, originally from Minnesota. They identify as a trans non-binary community member. So their videos on YouTube are absolutely fantastic. They run the gamut of far as queer topics. So they have had other YouTube personalities come on and do collaborations with them. They have talked about gender identities. They've talked about transness. They also documented their trans journey on YouTube. They talked about their top surgery on YouTube as well. Just fabulous person. Ash even wrote a book titled The ABCs of LGBT plus, and it is a Amazon best-selling book. It just absolutely fantastic.
I'm perusing some of their videos right now, and there are several that I'm like, ooh, that's gonna be good.
They're so good. Recently, they came back from over 2-year hiatus from YouTube that they took because of transphobic comments, videos, and etc. That caused tons of trauma, caused tons of gaslighting, and Ash actually has a more recent video where they talk about their experience over those 2 years, why they left for that period of time, talking about the trauma that they had related to the anti-social justice warfare individuals, which is they call them the anti-SJWs, talking about trans medicalists, which is a group of, or a social movement or a group of individuals that look at transness from a purely medical standpoint, looking at gender dysphoria, and then discredit a lot of the trans identities and trans experiences through that method. Also talks about TERFs, so trans exclusionary radical feminist. In fact, this experience went so far that Ash was targeted in another best-selling book on Amazon titled Irreversible Damage, The Transgender Craze Seducing Our Daughters by Abigail Schreier.
1-star review.
One star review. Ash references this book in the video series that they are putting together right now, but Ash is referenced throughout this book. Schreier says that she does not have an issue with transgender adults and states that she is not a TERF and will call them by the names and pronouns that they use, meaning trans adults. Yet, a quote from the book when they start talking about Ash is Ash Hardell is in her late 20s and she identifies as non-binary in quotations, or genderqueer, also in quotations, meaning neither male or female. Her pronouns are they/them.
Yeah.
Bitch, please.
Bitch, please.
Bitch, please.
But she got to go. Got to.
So, I don't want to give Schreier any more lip service on our podcast, but I do want to throw accolades and appreciation, deep appreciation and gratitude to Ash Hardell and the content that they make. They are an amazing individual. I highly suggest people go look at their content. You can find them. They actually have their own website, hardellmedia.com. You can find them on Twitter and Instagram at Ash Hardell.
That is amazing. Ash Hardell, I'm going to be watching some of your videos later tonight.
Deep YouTube hole. Get ready for it. It is so good. All the content is amazing. Huge fan. Love you, Ash Hardell.
Well, that about does it for us on the podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media. You can find me, Zach, at ZacharyPenn48.
And you can find me, Mason, at Real Mason Dixon.
You can also email us at withagaytwist@gmail.com. Make sure to give us a rating on your favorite podcast app so that other fabulous queens such as yourself can find us. You can also find more information about this podcast, including our catalog of queer people in history, on our website, www.withagaytwist.com. And if you can, please support us on our Patreon at patreon.com/withagaytwist. And remember, being queer
is political.
Later.
Bye, girl.